In our previous episode, we saw how living together before marriage is sin in the eyes of God. In this episode, we're going to look at the statistical analysis of cohabitation and the terrible consequences it brings. So let's get into the episode right away. In Genesis 2:24, God spoke through Adam the day he met Eve, his wife. He said, "For this reason," notice, for marriage, "for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and shall cleave to his wife," not girlfriend, wife. And then he says, "and they shall become one flesh." See, right in the beginning, God clearly established one of the most important principles of dating and relationship. He established the principle of no marriage, no merging. No merging before marriage. You cannot merge your bodies or your finances or your address before marriage. It is sin in the eyes of God. It's the sin of fornication. It leads to many other terrible consequences, and it has a negative impact on your future marriage. See, just talking in terms of marital happiness and trust, did you know that married adults have higher levels of relationship, trust, and satisfaction than those couples that do not choose to get married but they stay together? So, married couples have a higher level of relational happiness and satisfaction and trust. In fact, the Journal of Marriage and Family tells us that couples who live together before marriage are 46% more likely to divorce than the others. Did you get that statistic? People who cohabitate, they live together before marriage, they have 46% more chances of divorcing each other than those who choose marriage and only after that live together. So, this philosophy that living together will test out their relationship and it will improve the quality of the marriage, that's a bummer. It doesn't work. You've got to throw that out of the window. It actually decreases the chances of having a healthy marriage life. Now, in this episode, I want to list out the statistical details of this kind of a lifestyle, the cohabitating lifestyle. Now, Dr. Patrick, who has done a statistical analysis in America, based on his findings and a number of academic resources, he gave us a few conclusions. Now, why are we looking at the nation of America? Because they have been doing this for a while now. And so when you study the lifestyle and what it has brought upon in the lives of people, the lives of youngsters and couples living there, will show us where we are getting to if we embrace the same kind of lifestyle that they have. Now, we have nothing against the nation of the United States of America or the people of America. We love them just like God loves them. But the fact that their lifestyle is really impacting their lives in a very negative way will cause us to think differently and will give us a perspective of what needs to be done and what shouldn't be done. See, they have this philosophy that once your child becomes 18, he has to be sent out of the house and he has to take an apartment by himself. And you know what that leads to? It leads to a life of fornication. It gives a permission for fornication. So the child can do anything he wants because there is no accountability, there's no responsibility, and most of the times, this is what is leading to a life of sin. But when you look at the Bible, you don't leave your parents, your father and mother, unless it's time for you to get married and you meet your wife. So marriage should be the reason when a youngster leaves the home. It's very healthy. And there are so many great men and women of God who live this lifestyle even in the United States of America. And that gives them a chance to earn well and save up money and really live a much healthier and a prosperous life once they are married. So we're looking at the people of America and what is happening in their life when it comes to living a life of cohabitation. In other words, living together before marriage is so rampant in the society of America. So we're going to be looking at what Dr. Patrick found out from his research. The first thing that we want to know about this is this. He found out that relationships are very unstable in cohabitation. 1 out of 6 cohabitating couples stay together for more than 3 years. Only 1 couple out of 6 couples stay together even after 3 years. And only 1 out of 10 survive for more than 3 years. This is alarming. Here's another thing that he found out. He also found out that cohabitating women are left with the responsibility of marriage, particularly when it comes to caring for children, without legal protection and a lot of times without financial support. Women carry the much heavier burden. Women are being exploited when it comes to this cohabitation lifestyle. Number 3, poverty rates are higher among cohabitators because those who share a home and never get married have 78% less wealth than those who are married and stay married. But this is fascinating, right? Because they think, oh, this is a life of enjoyment because less responsibilities, less commitment to each other, and we can do whatever we want. But statistics prove otherwise. They say poverty is higher among cohabitators than those who get married and stay married. Marriage is a great wealth generator. If marriage is done the right way, it will bless you financially. Yes, my friend, it will bless you financially. And we have so many verses from the Bible that we can prove this fact from, but we're not going to dive into that today. But Dr. Patrick says poverty is more rampant among cohabitators than among those couples who get married and stay married. And here's another statistic which is very saddening. He says those who actually suffer the most from cohabitation are actually the children. You see, children who grow in homes where both their parents are not married, but they are cohabitating, they are there together, they are living together, but they're not married. You see, these children have 5 times a greater chance of living poor than the children of married couple. You see, children ages between 12 to 17, they exhibit emotional and behavioral problems, and 220% are more likely to be expelled from school. In other words, children from parents who are married and who stay married, their children are healthier, they will make it to school and they will complete their schooling. But 220% chances likely for the children to be expelled, especially when they come from a background of where their parents are just living together, but they're not married to each other. Children are being affected from this lifestyle because they'll grow up in a home with a lot of confusion because their dad is not the husband of their mom, and their mom is not the wife of the person that is living with them in the house. And they both are not married, they're not husband and wife. So the children are wondering, what kind of a place is this that I'm growing in? Is this a home? Because anytime dad can leave, anytime the mother can leave, anytime anything can happen without the protection of the covenant of marriage. Children are confused and it shows in their behavior. This is so alarming and this is really sad when children have emotional problems and they are 220% likely to be expelled from school. This is sad, my friend. This is sad. So statistics is against those people who say that living together before marriage or living together without marriage is actually better than marriage itself. Who do you think you are? You think you're wiser than God who instituted this amazing covenant called marriage? See, it's utter foolishness, my friend. And statistics is against cohabitation and living together before marriage or without marriage. It is actually bringing terrible consequences on the individuals and especially the children that can be birthed in this relationship which is not covered by the benefits of marriage. Such a sad thing to know. This is truly happening, my friend. Anybody who embraces this form of lifestyle is in for shock. And we want to really speak out the truth today. But here is one of the most important things that we've got to know about this cohabitation lifestyle. Living together without marriage devalues women. Yes, cohabitation is a lifestyle that puts down women and that devalues women. This is not pro women, this is against the well being of women. See, zeroing in on the second point that I shared about Dr. Patrick's research and study, he says that cohabitating women are left with the responsibility of the relationship, particularly when it comes to raising children, caring for children, without the legal protection and a lot of times without the financial support that they would have gotten if they were in a marriage arrangement. See, women bring into relationship more goods, so to speak. They bring in more into the relationship. They take more portion, the larger portion of the responsibility when it comes to marriage and relationship. This is true, and we all know this is true. See, women put in more work, they put in more effort when it comes to grooming and building a healthy relationship. But they get less satisfaction when it's not under the banner of marriage. And they get less relational commitment and security. See, this is a fact. Men tend to be drawn to the women's physical appearance, which decreases over time. And women, on the other hand, are drawn to men's power and resources, which tend to increase over time. Come on, did you get that? Women's appearance is what draws men to them. But aging, and of course, a lot of other factors, they start working on the physical appearance of the woman. And it decreases, the attraction decreases over time. But when it comes to women, see, they are drawn to men's resources and their position and power. But as time progresses, men increase in wealth. They tend to increase in wealth, talking about it generally. They tend to increase in position and power. So here is an imbalance, my friend. The thing that the men are drawn to is decreasing, and the thing that the women are drawn to is increasing. What do you think happens when there is no coverage of marriage? What do you think happens when there is no marriage covenant which both are tied under? You know what happens? Without the covenant of marriage, man can feel free to leave the woman. Why? Because there is no vow spoken. There is no public declaration. Families are not present. The church doesn't embrace this. God's presence is not acknowledged in this relationship. We just get together with somebody in a home and start paying rent together and start bearing children together, but not get married. What's happening here? There's no coverage of marriage here. So the man tends to feel free, or in a sense, at liberty to leave the woman at any stage, saying, hey, isn't this our arrangement in the first place? Wasn't this our idea? Didn't you agree to this fact that we're going to stay together? If it didn't work out, we're going to leave. It's not working out for me. In fact, you know what? The man can go to the extent of saying, I found a younger woman who is way more beautiful, prettier, because of course she is younger than the woman he's been living with. Now, childbearing and everything now adds on to her change in appearance, and aging also adds on to that factor. The man can feel easily at liberty to leave the woman that he's been living with, and nobody can question him. Why? Because there's no commitment of marriage. And without a covenant of marriage, their safety and the security of the relationship is always at stake. So cohabitation is harmful to the well-being of the women. Why? Because once the man leaves, the woman has to fend for herself. She's going to take care of the children. Come on. She's going to do all paying of the bills and everything. And can you imagine the number of children that are being thrown out of homes, and number of children that are being given to orphanages, and women just want to let go of everything and just want to run away somewhere because the man that they trusted has left them because their physical appearance is being affected due to aging and the pregnancy and the childbirth. But marriage provides a safety net. Let me say that again. Marriage provides the safety net required for a fruitful, a healthy, and for a long-term relationship. You see, when the man and the woman are married, their marriage provides the safety for the changes in both finances and the physical appearance, grounding both the people in an institution that provides more security for women as it provides more stability for men. Let me say this again. Come on. Marriage provides more security for women and more stability for the man. When you are covered under marriage, when you are in this covenant of marriage, as days go by, when finances and power increase on the side of man, and when aging and the physical appearance begins to change, and the beauty, the external beauty that I'm talking to you about is being affected by aging, because of the covenant of marriage, the man still respects the wife and stays in that commitment to love the wife until death do them apart. And the woman, as the finances increase, you see, they are more secure because the man is now under a covenant that keeps them both together. So marriage is pro-woman. It's a pro-woman institution. But cohabitation is not pro-woman. This is anti-woman. This is against the wellness of women. And this devalues women. I want to say loud and clear that cohabitation devalues women. Living together before marriage, without marriage, will devalue women. This is something that is designed just so that the man can cop out at any time. This is all working towards an advantageous position for the male, not for the female, not for the woman. So firstly, bringing back to remembrance what we've learned, it is sin to live together before marriage in the eyes of God. And that's what we focused on, basically, the previous episode. Secondly, statistics are against you. If you believe in co-living or cohabitation or living together before marriage or live-in relationships, whatever you want to call it or term it as, the statistics are against you. Thirdly, men tend to cheat more because there's no commitment attached. There's more cheating and affairs involved when there is cohabitation instead of marriage. There's more cheating in that kind of a lifestyle rather than marriage. Fourthly, cohabitation devalues women. Fifthly, children are the ones who suffer the most. What happens when both the parents decide to move away from each other? Now that families are not involved, God is not involved, church is not involved, there's nobody who would be permissible to help them in a relationship which is not bound by marriage covenant. What happens when both decide to move away? The children are left as orphans. What happens? It results in emotional and a lot of behavioral problems. And statistics goes to prove that these children don't even finish school. What a horrible thought that is. What a terrible consequence that is to the coming generation. If you are a person who wants your children to have a bright future, then this is only possible under the banner of marriage, where there is security, there's safety, where there is a binding together by the presence of the Lord. And as a child of God, choose marriage rather than cohabitation. So if you are in a live-in relationship today, you're listening to this podcast, this is not by accident. I want to very clearly let you know that my motive is not to guilt trip you or to condemn you, but to help you get back onto God's ways, which is marriage, which is the best way possible. And here are two options. If you are a child of God and you want to live the best life now, and you are living in this sinful lifestyle called cohabitation, sinful lifestyle called living together before marriage or without marriage, friend, find separate living quarters and stop having sex until you get married. For whatever reasons that you might be postponing your marriage for, get away from each other. Live in separate quarters and stop having sex outside marriage. Wait until you get married to merge your bodies, to merge your finances, and to merge your address. And number two, here's another option. Especially when there are children involved. Especially when you are living together and you have children and you still have not decided to get married. What's wrong? What is happening here? Do you have any idea how this impacts your children? How negatively this affects the emotional health and your behavioral health of your child, and how this is going to confuse him? Get married for God's sake. Get married for your child's sake. Get married quickly. No, I'm saving up for a grand wedding. Have a grand wedding later. But get married quickly. Get married quickly. You may be able to arrange for a grand reception maybe 6 months later or something like that, but get married quickly. That's what I'm recommending very loud and clear today. So don't postpone saying, are we just testing our relationship so that we can have a stronger marriage? Doesn't work. I just told you 46% more likely to get divorced if you were in a cohabitation relationship before marriage. 46% more chances of divorce. This is not going to increase your marriage stability. In fact, it works on the opposite. It decreases your chances of having a healthy marriage life. And don't say you're saving up for a grand wedding, but you're living together and you're sinning. And now there are children involved. What are you doing? Get married quickly. You may have a formal wedding later. You can have a grand wedding reception sometime later in the future, but then get married quickly so that your children can come under the banner, under the careful protection of a father and mother who are married, who are husband and wife, who are in this covenant of marriage, and where God can help them, God can bless them, and God can take them and their relationship to another level. Friend, these are things that need to be spoken, because we as a generation, we are being exposed to all sorts of ideas that the world calls normal now. Things that were abnormal 3 decades ago, 2 decades ago, are being embraced by the nook and corner of the society, saying, this is the new trend and this is trending and this is what we all do. And see, we are closely following what's happening in the United States of America, a nation that has, as a whole, they have set aside, or rather say rejected, the principles of God. Now I know there are wonderful people, there are true people, true believers in the nation. God bless them. God used them mightily to change the lives of people over there. But I'm saying that the trending culture that we are receiving from that nation is poisoning us, and it's bringing toxic ideas into today's youngsters. Let's not be deceived by the media, my friend. Let's not be deceived by what's popular. Let's go by the principles of the Word of God. God loves you. God is a good God. And right from the beginning, He has established this principle. No merging without marriage. Don't merge your bodies, your finances, and your addresses until you get married. So marriage is the best option. Stay on the highway. Keep focusing on that. And if you are dating, remember this principle. And I'm sure you're blessed by these episodes, and especially the last 2 episodes where we've been talking about co-living or cohabitation or living together before marriage. And I know this has opened up a few things that you were thinking about, you were questioning about. And I hope to God that you got a few very important answers. Now, pass this message with all your friends, your enemies, everyone who needs to be blessed. And I will see you soon again in another enlightening episode of Relationship Podcast.